Welcome back to the Baitman live stream. We're live here on YouTube and Facebook Live, and got a cool show with you tonight as I adjust my camera. If it's your first time joining in, I appreciate you. To all the subscribers, channel members, thank you again. This is about the third or fourth week in a row, and I've got a special guest tonight on a special week, and I'll explain. I've got Matt Pangrac from Bass Talk Live, and I believe this is Matt's fourth or fifth time on the channel. I think the only people that's been on here more is Epic Eric and Hella Bass, both great dudes and know a lot about baits, but so does Matt, and we'll talk baits tonight. We'll get into some other things as well, but this is a special week. This is Tennessee versus Oklahoma week, and I couldn't pass down an opportunity to have a boomer on here. And it's all in fun. And honestly, last two games, Oklahoma's got the best of us, and kind of jealous that I couldn't get down to Norman this week, but got to work. But got a video uploading tomorrow, a bass boat walkthrough. So if you guys didn't know, hadn't paid attention on social, I did buy a bass boat. I've been in it, bought a Triton 20XS Elite, and it is loaded out, and I'm ready to get some baits in there, make some bait videos. But for the meantime, we've got Matt Pangrac from Bass Talk Live tonight. We're going to talk about something specific, not so much just one bait, but a specific idea, technique in the fishing world that's kind of taken over. And what's helped is forward-facing sonar, but you don't have to have forward-facing to use these baits. And we're going to talk about suspended baits, specifically jerk baits, the hover rig. I want to even talk about crankbaits to suspend, more than just the old fat-free shad. There's a lot of different things you can do, and we're going to talk about why that is happening. So, Kyle, I actually got it from an individual in Michigan, in Lansing, Michigan. So I left at 3 a.m. Friday morning, and I got back at 11:30 p.m. Friday night. So I drove a lot, but you'll get to see a little quick walkthrough tomorrow on YouTube. I'm going to do a little whatnot stream tomorrow night, so I'm going to make that available to channel members first, and then I'll pop that up there probably Friday morning, so we don't have videos on top of videos. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bring Matt in and get him in here for you guys. And Facebook people, I appreciate you watching, and make sure you leave a like or comment on the video as well, and I'll try to respond. Matt, welcome back in to Baitman Live.
What's up, dude? I was just thinking, I can't believe the last time the Vols played OU was 2015.
Yes.
And it's a long time ago. It feels like it was like, I thought it was like 3 or 4 years ago, because I remember those games. It was like 9 years ago.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did not forget that, because we totally choked that one in Neyland. I was there, and it was the loudest I've ever heard that stadium in the fourth quarter.
You had us down, right?
17-0 at almost halftime.
Yeah. Was that a Baker? Was that Baker?
Yep, Baker Mayfield, I believe.
Yeah, he had a knack for that.
Yeah,
he's that dude who always catches the freaking 5-pounder in the last 20 minutes right outside of takeoff.
Yeah, so believe it or not, I'm a Baker Mayfield fan. You know, I was texting with you, and it's awesome what he's doing for the Tampa Bay Bucks, especially after taking the Browns to the playoffs, winning a playoff game, and then they cut him for Deshaun Watson. I thought that was dirty. But, you know, I'm not an Oklahoma hater. I actually root for them quite a bit because, you know, they're blue blood, you know. But it's got a lot of, you know, we got a lot of drama in the bass fishing world, but this is kind of crazy. You know, you fire Heupel. He goes to Tennessee. He makes Tennessee good. Now he comes back to Oklahoma. Wild stuff. But also, I want to tell you this. If you guys haven't watched Matt's mega stream from, I guess it was last week or the week before, there's so many people on there. When I was driving to Michigan, I turned it on at about Indianapolis, and I listened to the whole thing, and plus some on the way back, and it was great. Lots of opinions in there. Todd Castledine was awesome on there. I really enjoyed Lee Livesey, and even Randy was on there. But everyone had their opinions on the rule changes and forward facing. But it was really good. But I always keep track, and for a long time, I remember I had almost 11,000 live viewers. This was on Cinco de Mayo several years ago, and I thought, I've never seen any bass fishing streamer have those numbers. And it was COVID. Times were wild. We could pop this thing live and have 400 or 500. And you always have 250, 300 on BTL in the mornings. And you hit almost 1,200, maybe more than that.
Yeah, I hit 1,600 at the highest point.
So I was give you a golf clap for breaking the record, man.
There's had to have been more than 1,600 at some point for another live one. But no, that was killer, man. Like all those guys brought it. The crazy thing about that, Baitman, is like, so I had like 9 guests on, and then like a couple, like Matt Herron kept texting me, so I was just like, here's a link, like jump on. But I had them all like staggered out because it was a debate night, right? So there were like Bobby Lane was like, I'm good, but I'd like to watch that debate. So I'd like got him on first, and anyway, so I was like herding cats behind the scenes, like getting guys on. I had guys with audio issues and stuff. So like I looked down, and then Todd and Johnny Schultz went off for like 45 minutes. I'm like 4.5 hours in. We wrapped the show up, and I called up one of my buddies who watched it, and I was like, was that good? Because I don't really remember any of the details of it, because I was just trying to keep it flowing smooth. And after you've done so many hundreds of shows, you kind of get in your head, like if it's a good flow and if the guys are vibing with each other and who needs to go in and who needs to go out. So I need to like go back and listen to it, because like everyone said, it's been like, the guys all brought all the Elite Series guys. James Hall kicked it off with Bassmaster at the competition committee, said it was, really good content, but I need to go back and rewatch it to like actually hear everything that everyone said and just like enjoy it.
Yeah, it was good. I thought it flowed really well. And I did like when you had guests on, we'll set some parameters here. We're not going to call it a cheater box, and we're not going to call it
I should have done that at the beginning. I knew Randy was going to go there, and I had like on my notes like no words for BTL, like forward facing sonar and live scope were okay, but umbilical cord, cheater box, crutch, those were like key words that were not allowed on the show.
But you know what? With respect to Randy, we definitely disagree on stuff, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing.
Yeah, no, he did a great job on the show.
He did a good job. He handled it professionally. I thought everybody did. And the more I listen to it and stuff, I see it. I'm a forward-facing guy. I'm a proponent of technology. I don't want to go backwards. But, listening to Matt Herron and Lee and even Todd, I see myself agreeing with them on a lot of stuff, especially when it's, forward-facing tournaments, for not. But the way I look at it, too, Bass made that schedule to where it basically is half and half. I mean, yes, forward facing is going to play in every event somehow, but those river systems, it's a different animal.
I like the fact that we got one without, one with a half, and then Bassmaster with the one transducer. I've already a week and a half into shows past it, and I think hopefully it'll settle down for the next year. Like it's like right now, kind of to me at the point of when the Alabama rig was in like 2012, before like when all the leagues were figuring out like who can throw the Alabama rig, who can't. Remember like a couple like a bunch of opens were won in a row of it. I remember like there was an open on a Bassmaster Open on like Oneida where the guys like drifted down the middle of the lake in like 2012, I think, and like pros and co's caught hundreds of smallmouth on Shackleton Shoal.
Yeah.
I just remember hearing stories about it. It'd be like, dude, we'd look around, there'd be like 30 guys hooked up all at once. And then, all that debate on whether it would or wouldn't. And you had, Paul Elias that's going, Andy Poss and the Man's Bait Company. And then you had the guys who were the jerk bait guys going, well, no one's going to buy jerk. It's kind of the same deal. And that like kind of calmed down. And now it's, kind of found its niche as to, you throw it in the Toyotas, you can't throw it in the opens and vice versa. So it'll all settle down on this deal too.
Yeah, it's everything kind of has a cycle, and something nobody's really talked about. I haven't heard it mentioned. We talk about explosions of baits, the hollow belly swim bait when Bass Tricks came on the scene, Skeet 1, that was crazy. The Alabama rig, now the hover rig's really popular, which we'll talk about tonight, and all this other stuff going on. People forget about the impact of the Ned rig. Like, I was just thinking the other day, especially from a retailer standpoint, the Ned came out. It was kind of popular, I guess. And then all of a sudden, everybody's making Ned rig heads, Ned rig baits. We got iCast, Ned. Let's get small.
Yeah, that
And
was.
so all your tackle shops, and especially now, are loaded with Ned baits. And it's like guys kind of forgot about it, and it still catches them. So my fishing partner
Same with the chatterbait.
Yep.
Same
So
with the
it's all a
sluggo.
cycle. There'll be something else happen, and all it takes is for one guy to win one tournament on, let's say, a balsa side crankbait, and all of a sudden everybody's got to get balsa flat size. People like Phil Hunt and Cliff Pace would be really excited, but
Yeah.
you know, but we're going to talk some baits tonight before we talk anything else. And the reason I mentioned forward facing is what we're talking about does have a lot to do with forward facing, but you don't have to use these baits with forward facing if that makes sense. Swap it to a little zoom in here.
I need to use that on mine. I don't ever zoom in that much. I should.
Well, I do this so if I decide to download it and clip it to Instagram, it's
yeah, no,
formatted
that's
a
fair.
little bit better.
I like it.
So when we're trying to come up with ideas, I had an idea, and you said, "Dude, I want to talk suspending baits."
Yeah.
So,
dude, like the last 2 years, the reason why is I think regardless of what technique I'm using, like almost everything I'm using over the last couple years in the opens, fun fishing around Oklahoma, up north, is some form of a suspending bait, or I'm fishing it in a suspended fashion.
I feel like guys, when you say the word suspending, they immediately gravitate to jerk bait, like the old suspending Rogue or a Mega Bass Vision 110, which doesn't suspend perfect, believe it or not.
No, but you talked about the hover rig. It's something where you're keeping it in one portion of the water column. Like you're getting it down and then you're bringing it back in like one portion of the water column slowly. Like those suspending baits. Like I think those have become immensely more popular once we figured out where a large population of the fish are living.
Right. And a lot of it, brush pile fishing is really popular now. And the way I used to fish brush is totally different than what we're doing now. I'm a throw a worm or jig in it, drag it around, maybe even throw a crankbait and banging off the treetops or stumps. But guys are taking stuff like a hover rig or like Ben uses, he used the juggle rig, the juggle minnow, and finding these fish that are sitting above or around the cover and trying to pick them off individually with live scope. And something a lot of people don't talk about is fishing for these suspended fish that are around boat docks.
Yep. Yeah, that's something that the forward facing has hurt me a lot because I fished a ton for suspended fish with a chicken rig, with a Nico rig, with a wacky rig, with a jerk bait. And that was before you could see them. And now you see them, the guys can just go around and catch them. That's why the old 12.5 pounds sucks now. The old 12.5 pounds used to do. And I moved back just because someone pointed out that I had a T on my wall for Tennessee.
Oh,
that is BTL. There's also an L underneath that. That is a T for talk, as in bass. I think it's good. Live. There's a B behind the Baitman logo in the corner.
We were going to bet on the game, but you said no, and
it's okay. Dude, have you seen our first 3 games?
I've watched a little bit.
It's not been pretty. Houston 16-12. I mean, dude, we almost got beat by a wave. Now, granted, we are like named after some land rush people, but like we almost got beat by a wave, a green wave.
Well, Kentucky basketball got beat by some Peacocks a few years ago, so I wouldn't feel too bad.
It is.
But anyway, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's talk about jerk baits. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I don't have a lot with me because I'm doing this transition from bait room to bass boat, and I've got a huge mess, and I can't grab it.
It looks good behind. I like it. You got that all cleaned out with the black and white going with all the 6th Sense stuff and some of the baits up there. That's like a good looking background.
Well, I appreciate it. I got a cabinet over here. This is what this is. It's a cabinet full of stuff. Eventually, I've got this big, long table in here. I'm going to shorten it up so I can get a little depth. And when people ask, hey, how to rig this, I can get up and walk around. I can barely move.
Now that's smart. Have a little station there.
Yeah.
Little 2-camera station. No, so I think, I was telling you this beforehand, I think that in the last 2 years, the jerk bait has been not forgotten, but not nearly as prevalent as it used to be.
I would agree with that.
With the advent of like the hover rig, the Nico got super popular. You've seen a lot of the stuff that a lot of the guys are kind of mid strolling, but the jerk bait, like I think, like, I mean, I've been all in on the jerk bait for the last like 5 or 6 years, and I still think it's like drastic, like massively effective.
Yeah, I think guys have learned that it's not just a February, March deal. And if you look back, though, if you look back into bass fishing, KVD's threw jerk bait and a lot of major league fishing stuff. Like when they're doing before
Wisconsin?
the BBT and stuff, they would go up north or they go other places, and it's June into July, and he's just ripping a jerk bait and triggering a lot of reaction bites. Where I've already put that thing up, I've forgot about it, and now you're seeing guys that would normally crank a brush pile or maybe got a hover rig. First thing they do, they fire off a jerk bait and they're fishing over the top of it, but they're not using just any jerk bait. Most of this is a suspending jerk bait, correct?
Suspending or sinking or floating. It all kind of depends on it. Like I'm actually prepared for a Baitman show because I rolled out. So I brought my 3 boxes of jerk baits in. You want to start like at the top and work the way down?
Yeah, let's go.
So there's still a bunch of guys. Have I ever shown this on the show before?
No, I think all you've bust out is the wiggle warts.
So
but I do see some rogues in there.
Yeah, those are all OG rogues, and there's probably 80 of them in there.
Oh yeah, it's the ones with the little baby bass patterns on there. I've got
all sorts of the different rogues in there. And when it comes to a floating like 4 foot or less, like it's still hard to beat a super rogue. Like when you want something that comes back up, like a super rogue, something like that.
Yep.
Like, dude, guys were throwing these things in the 80s over like shallow grass. And that is still a deadly bait. Like I know a bunch of guys in Oklahoma that have a hand. Look, I'll show you this one. So this one right here is a rogue that I bought for a BPT angler and an Elite Series angler, one of each before they split. I bought 25 of those for them. And they got them custom painted. And I said, hey, I'll hook you up with them. I said, but I want 2 of them. And I got 2 of them. And there's been, between these guys, there's been a ton of money won on that exact rogue. And I did that way before forward facing sonar came out for those guys.
Is that the super rogue?
That's the super rogue. And it's like a specific model. I don't know if it has it on there.
Correct. There's a couple of them that the bills are a little bit different. Some of them are a little bit narrower.
That's the bill.
All right.
That's the money bill on it. And then like that has caught so many fish for those guys. Like, and that's like mainly shallow docks, shallow brush piles.
Shallow docks, shallow brush. So what do you think
like
makes
5 foot brush piles?
What do you make that specific model rogue that what makes that so much better than other stuff? Is it because of I always feel rogue had a lot more roll to it, and the ability for it to rise up in shallow water.
I think it moves because it doesn't dart. I think it moves a lot of water. So like, I know the one angler that I got I got him for him like years before he caught him on this, but he like caught him really good on shallow piles on Dardanelle one year. And it was like muddy on Dardanelle that year. So like when it was like dirty, I think that rogue, rattling rogue, big profile, and because it moves a lot of, it doesn't like cut through. It kind of, it's kind of sluggish. I think it moves a lot of water and stays in one place. But I mean, dude, like think of how much money Christie's won on a rogue.
Oh, it's silly. I know Menendez famously won on a rogue in this
Yeah, he had his
spring.
own. I have a couple Mark Menendez rogues in here.
Yeah, I got a bunch, but that was a different deal. But it's still a suspending bait, and he was waiting 15, 20 seconds between a bite or pause. He was pausing it that long. Now, what I've noticed too with forward facing, it's amazing that it can be 44-degree water, and these bass will react to quick retrieves.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they're shallow. They're like 3 to 5 foot. There's a lot more fish shallow and that are high in the water column in it that we know. But like here's a Frank Scalish trick right there. So that's that like silver rogue, and then you take the chrome and you scrape it off the side so it's bone on either side.
Interesting.
See, I've taken a razor blade and.
So it does. So will you do that to kind of minimize the flash and
minimize
have more
the flash, but still create contrast on it?
Interesting.
So there's a couple key ones. I mean, you can tell like if you look at this box, like my favorite, especially with on Grand, is that Pro Blue with the orange belly. I've never really figured out why the orange belly works so good on a rogue, but whenever it's like that shallow and that, like a lot of orange bellies on rogues seem to be the deal.
You think because you're talking about shallow fish and orange belly makes me think you're kind of maybe mimicking a perch or some kind of bluegill forage. Because if you look at female bluegill, especially in the spring or even any time of year, that they've kind of got an orange throat or orangish belly. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, that could work. So when I first moved to Oklahoma, yeah, Frank talks a lot about all this stuff. I had all this stuff before I started doing day 4. Like I was kind of proud of it because I show Frank my rogue box every now and then. And I'm like, look at all my rogues. So this is an enigma. And I don't know why. And I can show you a couple. Look, I'll show you. And I think I've shown this one time before on the show. If I can find the right ones.
Yeah, I see you got a red one in your hand.
Yeah. So in the South, for some reason, there's a time period when that bad boy right there, they come unglued on it. And I would love for someone to have a theory as to why they eat that color. Grand,
I don't know. That's interesting.
Exoma, Eufaula. In the spring, in the winter, there are periods when I red, and then this color in the. There's 3 of them. There's that color.
Akatoro.
Yep, Akatoro in the Mega Bass.
Yeah, so I got a couple. I was able to get a couple of those last year. One, they look good, but 2, it's funny you say that there's a period there. Years ago, I was working for Mike Otten. I mean, God, that makes me feel real because he gave me a pointer 100 and it was a red color. And he said, throw this. And I'm like, really? He goes, they're eating it. He said, there's about a 2-week window they eat it. And man, I wrecked them on it. It was like a reddish chrome. I think they called it Aurora Red or something like that. And I wasn't a good jerkbait fisherman. And they, when they eat it and they got all trebles like braces across their face. And I just don't ever find them anymore. So that was one reason I got a couple of those.
I just have no idea what they see in that or what they think it is, but it's a couple. I don't know what it is. I really don't. I wish I did.
What about, do you ever throw any of the OSP stuff?
No, I haven't yet so far.
Let's see. Alan Howard says, don't forget about that purple back chartreuse size. That's usually my go-to, to be honest.
Did he really just say that?
Yeah.
Oh, look what I just pulled out. So I just pulled out, because I was going to go this color next on colors that you have to have. So that is the most badass purple color you can have in clear water ever. That's the Spromix stick in the 110. That thing is absolutely bad to the bone, a Mike McClellan color. I don't know exactly what color it is, but can you see how it's like translucent purple? Like watch as I turn this thing.
I'm going to blow you up here.
Yeah.
We figure it out. Oh,
and then just drag me over to you. There you go.
dude, look at you go.
Look at that color.
Dude, that's sick.
That right there in the McStick, which if you're looking like outside of the Rogue, when it comes to a 5 foot or less jerkbait in colored water, McStick is 100%. There are every single guy that I know that's a jerkbait guy on tour has a box of McSticks, regardless of who they're sponsored by.
It's a really good bait. I've got a few of them.
There is a time, so there's also a time, in my opinion, when that 6 Sense silent provoke outshines anything.
I should have one. I've got all kinds of stuff here.
But it's funny
that here's a silent provoke. This color's kind of similar, so maybe we're on the same page. Now, when do you prefer that deeper diver, whether it's 110 plus or the mixed stick?
That's a deeper jerkbait or deeper pile deal for me, or a timber deal.
This is their version of Morning Dawn, so I'll blow myself up real quick. And if you could tell, that provoke's got a very similar build to a mega bass or a mixed stick, but it's kind of got that.
Yeah, it kind of has that same kind of iridescent purpley. So I pulled my 4 favorite purples out, which number 1 is going to be that mixed stick. You have to have a couple of those. Number 2 is going to be that lavender shad in the Lucky Craft.
Yeah.
All right, I got to look this model up. I want to say it's an X. It's like one of the cheaper versions of the Lucky Craft.
I'll let you look it up. And guys that are listening or watching, I'll try to go back tomorrow and link a bunch of these baits in the description. Tackle Warehouse, and I'll link some Omni and stuff.
Bass Pro bait. It's only like a $9 jerkbait. I'm trying to figure out which one it is.
Is it called? It's like, I don't want to say lightning shad, but
so it's got a pointier nose on it.
Is it the lightning pointer?
I don't know, but it's got like a weird taper on the body. It's square on the back, and if you get it anywhere near a power pole or a trolling motor head, it will break in half. Like it is not a durable jerkbait, and I would assume that's because it's like a $9 jerkbait.
But so I know what years ago. So Lucky Craft started. If you remember right, they were really the first JDM company that took off here. I mean, Mega Bass sort of, but Lucky Craft got really stupid there for a while, especially when they had Skeet, Gerald, Otten, Joe Thomas, Marty Stone. They had a huge pro staff, and they really took off. And so their baits were really popular, and the market kind of caught up. Strike King, Spro, all these other companies started producing really good hard baits, and so we're kind of getting beat in the market. And they started bringing out these baits that are $8-9. And
Lightning Pointer SP bait, man.
Lightning Pointer SP,
$9.99. I think it's a Bass Pro Shops exclusive.
And that's Table Rock Shad.
Yeah, but I was just talking about that on the purple back.
I like it.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
So does that got more of a twitching, darting action? It
has a really erratic dart to it. I actually found that on accident. I was trying to get some 100s, some pointer 100s, or whatever the standard one is. The 100s or the ones. What's the standard one?
Standard is the pointer 100, and then there's the pointer 78.
Here, all right. So here's an old school one, and remember when Skeet came out with the crack colors?
Yes, LC crack, SKT crack.
Yeah, there's an old school 100 in the crack color.
Yeah, it's got the kind of the silverish scales on it.
No, that's the wrong one. I don't know. Oh, here it is right here. I wonder if I can turn that down a little.
Oh, I got to ask you this question. I hate to interrupt our jerk baits. Hella Bass wants to know: are you fishing the Autumn Open tournament this weekend?
I am not.
So I'm just going to ask you, what's the deal here between Matt and Matt? Because y'all are both my friends. And
Nothing. We just had to listen. I am more than willing to have on BTL and to talk about it. I think he is great for the sport. I think he's an incredibly talented angler. I think he has a lot to offer. I have absolutely no issue with on him.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I'm just like, I heard that in the deal. Lee was like, Matt's texting me and all that, and I'm like, y'all need to be friends because I like you both. So
no, everyone that I know that is friends with the guy would die for the dude. So that's saying something.
I'll tell you this straight up, and I hate to get off topic, and I've said it before. My truck died in the middle of the interstate years ago, and I put on Facebook, hey, I need a ride. Within 5 seconds of all the people, Matt's calling me. He's sending his wife to come pick me up.
I've heard that story after story after story about him. So, we had maybe a little bit of miscommunication back in the day. So, it is what it is. But if he wants to come on BTL, I'd be more than willing to have him on BTL. Also,
that's good to know.
It is Baitman and not BTL. So I got the spotted cow from Wisconsin.
It's kind of odd because I don't drink. So, but my guests can drink all they want to. I don't really care. I don't have any rules. I just was wondering that. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot.
No, it's something. It's
Hellebad said that.
No, it's something really small. It's not. It's not even literally. I've had.
Don't worry.
15 years of doing this, I've had one person that says they don't want to be on the show, so I just have honored that request.
It is what it is. But don't worry. I think Matt Airy hates my guts right now, so I wasn't trying to just because of the Instagram reel. But anyway,
there's the difference between that.
Yeah, so I can tell the tail on the lightning pointer is more tapered, which should, on a jerkbait, give it a little bit more erratic action.
Yep,
it's almost like skinning the tail down on a crankbait. You get that tail dancing action.
And then on the front, you can tell it's a totally different build design.
So when are you going to throw that versus a rogue when you're getting out?
This I throw is like more super fast.
Okay.
Than the 100. The 100 is like the cold weather stuff. Like this is like we smashed him on the Mississippi River on this a couple times, like big time. Like I weighed in a 578 smallmouth on this exact bait in the St. Jude 2 years ago.
That's an awesome tournament, by the way. I'd love to make it up there.
Yeah. No,
for a good cause.
I brought home 3 mega cases of spotted cow on my way back from the Leech Lake Open because I had to drop my buddy off in Illinois. So instead of going around Wisconsin, I went through Wisconsin. Then I stopped at the border and I fit as much as I could fit in my truck. I've also gained about 15 pounds since then.
I've been trying to keep it slim. I'm at like 160 right now. I'm at high school weight. Of course, back in high school, it was all muscle. Now it's just a mix of whatever. So, obviously I got my own purple. If you got guys probably know I love the chartreuse purple, so I had them do it looks great, the jank juice, which is not
that's like named after your deal.
And so Casey started painting those up, and Ben and Jack York, you've had Jack York on BTL. He loves this color.
That dude is the man. He looks like the brawny paper towel man. He seems like he's as wise as a 40-year-old, but then you find out he's like 19. He's guided for 17 years on Lake Fork. He catches their ass everywhere you go.
I really hope he makes the elites. I think he's a really good dude.
I think
he's an absolute hammer. He's 14th in points, maybe?
Yeah, but I think, like, dude, if you looked at those points, like, there's a difference between being close and being close. Like, don't look at where he is in the points. Look at how many points they are behind.
I can't navigate the Bassmaster webs. I have to Google the points and then pull up the page.
Second. Open EQ standings. So York is in 13th at 1208. Matt Adams has 1285, tied with Bo Browning at 1285. So that's a 75-point gap. That's not undoable, but like if you look at the guys ahead going into the last one on Hartwell, like name who's not going to catch him on Hartwell on a spotted
Cody
bass
Meyer is
fishery.
a lock. I'm going to say
Fothergill's a lock, Meyer's a lock, Smith is a lock, Emil Wagner doesn't even have to fish on day one. He'll come in with 24 pounds of spots on day two. Like literally, like that is like a Babe Ruth calling his shot event for Emil Wagner. I would be shocked if he doesn't top 5. We could bet on Vegas. I would put the house on Emil Wagner in this one. Loberg isn't going to miss that. Paul Marks isn't going to miss it. Dakota Eber isn't going to miss it. I don't know Adam Kung very well. And I've ran into Matt Adams, and that dude seems as cool as the other side of the pillow. So, I mean, and then
it's
Bo
not
Browning.
undoable because I believe, if you remember right, this time last year, Milliken was at that same, like he had a top 10 or get really close to winning to get in, and he did.
Yeah, I mean, there is like, so I would say like, you know, that 13-17 mark. So like, dude, I'm not going to bet against Dakota Eber. I would say 8 and 9. No, because that's only 9 points. Yeah, I would say like Eber, Kung, and Adams are fighting it out, and Bo Browning, because he's tied there. But dude, there's like a 70-point gap between Bo Browning and 11th. That's like a lot of places.
I mean, Jack would have to essentially catch a top 5 and guys in front
and
of
hope
him
other guys sucked. Yeah, he'd have to catch a top 5 and put some sugar in some gas tanks on day 2.
I just don't see someone like Cody Meyer falling, because
No.
Cody's really steady Eddie. You talk about a really consistent angler. He may not be in contention to win, but he's going to be in contention to get a check or be in that top 20, 30 every tournament.
I mean, I don't want to say
kind of like Luke Palmer was.
Statistically in it. He's statistically still in it. I mean, he's got a chance. He just has to have some help. I've been in that situation before where like I did well, and then all of a sudden, like the 3 guys that you don't need to do well, like come in and it's like 24-2, and you're like, well, oh well, next year.
Yeah. Well, I think when it goes back to Jack, this is his rookie year fishing the Opens. If he does it again, he's obviously going to be a name that everybody's going to watch and expect to be in qualifying position.
Yeah.
You know, that was John Garrett for a couple of years. John Garrett was right there. And then he makes it to the elites, and bang, he pops a victory off in like the 3rd one. I think a lot of guys saw that coming.
Yeah, Garrett should have been in the Elite Series like 3 years ago. Like he's an Elite Series guy.
Yeah, it's weird when they say Elite Series rookie John Garrett. I'm like, dude's fished the Classic. How much of a rookie is he?
Dude, so you're I guess I realized that you're on the purple train too. Like
I love the purple train. Like if it's got purple in it, I promise I'll buy it. Whether I always use it or not. Like I've got purple flukes. They make a lavender shad fluke that's badass. I'm fixing to show you a little bait you may or may not know about when we talk about suspended baits. Swim baits. If it's got purple, I'll throw it.
I wonder why that works. It just looks good. Like,
so I'm going to ask you your question
right now are all purple.
Yeah. Other than it just looking good, why do you think it is that bass like purple? And I don't mean just on hard baits, but look at your worms, your plum worms, fire
tequila sunrise.
Tequila sunrise. What in jigs? Guys throw peanut butter jelly, like blue purple. Why is it purple is so good?
So supposedly bass can see red, from what I've heard, which I understand the whole line thing, but that's translucent with light transparency, which is why they can't see it. But like a solid red, they can see. So I'm assuming it has something to do with that, to where it's like, I mean, purple's similar to red, right? Mm-hmm. Am I wrong on that on the color spectrum?
It's, purple, you get it by mixing blue and red, and I think blue is the color.
And the most 2 favorite colors, a black and blue jig.
And it's just so when I designed the Jank Juice, and Casey talked about that purple, I said I want a specific purple that doesn't stay bright. And one thing on that is, if you'll notice, especially if there's any little color to the water, or you get a little sunlight, that purple almost turns to a silverish gray hue. And I feel like the gizzard shad here on the Tennessee River, you'll hook one on accident. You'll put the boat, and it's got purple all over it. Well, when these gizzards are swimming in shallow water and whatnot, you don't see that purple. You see this bright gray like back, and I think that's what does it for me on a crankbait or jerkbait. It mimics a gizzard. And then obviously the chartreuse, little dirty water, it turns into almost like a dull white flash. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe you don't.
All right. So while we're on it, like, I don't think you understand how obsessed I am with purple here. So I have every hue basically of purple. So I'll start. So I throw a lot of the mixed sticks. I love the mixed sticks. So then there's the purple with the
old
solid.
School. Yeah.
Like the old school, like cellmate, or not cellmate, but whatever that's called.
Norman Flake. They used to call that Norman Flake.
There you go. See that purple on the back of that one?
Yep.
Right there. Like, that's a money color. And then this is one of McClellan's new colors in that. Like, look at that purple head.
Yep.
And purple hue on the prism. And then obviously the OG purple that we all know. Like, dude, this is my OG like game day bait. Like this one, it had I want to say it says 2015 on it. The Ito 110 +1. But I mean, obviously the LG bone, like, look at that bad boy.
Yeah, dude.
That's like 30 sets of treble hooks.
I see you put a suspend dot on that.
Yeah.
No, is that to actually get it to truly suspend, or do you want that on a slow sink?
That's a sinking bait. Like, this is 100% a scope bait right here. I've got bigger treble hooks on it, so when they slap at it, you can get it. I've got to wait so it sinks slower. I mean, I can get that down to like 12 to 14.
Alan Howard says here, the Rapala Shadow Wrap in the Gone color. He said, I call it Mr. Purple for the 2000 he won on it this year. Ooh. I know Terry Bolton likes that Shadow Wrap quite a bit.
So this in the Mega Bass is bad to the bone too. It's like
Spawn Cherry.
Yep. Like, look at that purple hue, like right when you hit that. Like, that thing is sick.
Man, I'm trying to think of what else. I've got purple baits. I have to open my cabinet. I've got some Mega Bass colors that are chef's kiss. But yeah, I'm always buying the purple.
And then the last one that I've gotten into, and this is most recently, I did not realize. So I know this thing is won a classic. I know it's big, but I had 30 different ones, right? But I finally started throwing that Berkeley one.
The Stunner.
Like, that thing is like crazy much louder than a lot of the others.
Really?
Like with it,
I haven't noticed it. Yeah, I can hear it.
Hear that, and then this is a 110.
All right.
Hear the 110.
So I'm going to grab one right here. Hellabass just mentioned it, and this is one of my favorite. And this is kind of before forward facing was the deal. Is the Jackal range, because this one's meant to fish fast. I'm going to move myself off here. I don't know if you've ever fished this one, Matt.
Let me see that one.
So you've got that translucent purple, that yellow belly on it.
The bone.
But when you throw this bait, so it's got this little weight transfer in here. I mean, you got to flick it hard, but this thing flies to the tail, and it sounds like a 22 going off. Like, the first time I was with somebody that was throwing this, I ducked my head. I was like, what was that? And they're like, oh, that's the bait. But you can fling this really far. And when fish are aggressive, where if you're like fishing a flat, because we fish a lot of, those gravel bars and flats here, and you're fishing, 4 or 5 foot of water, you can work this thing really, really fast over the tops of shallow brush and stuff like that. This bait will get bit. Now, it's nothing when that water
Hold
gets
that up to like next to a 6 cents, like a normal size one, because it looks massive.
Sure, it is. All right, I'll just grab one. Ooh, this is the best one. I like the Jank Juice, but I've caught more fish on this color 6 cents than almost any of them. This is that Ghost Bone Minnow, and it's got a little bit of purple in it, but a lot of blue light. So this is a Provoke 106. So this is their standard model.
Yep.
almost the same size as a mixed stick. And then this is the Re-Range 130. That is a big profile jerk bait. So
Yeah,
you're talking
that's almost like an Edo Shiner size.
correct. But when you talked about that original Rogue, those big, large Rogues are very similar in size.
Yep.
Now, obviously, this is a different body, a little higher tech on it, totally different action. But this is a big bait. They make a smaller, like a Re-Range 110 or 90 something. I can't remember. The 110 is a little bit smaller, but the 130, it has its place. You're going to get some bigger bites on this thing. And then they make beautiful colors too.
Yeah. The other one that I like super translucent, is that Strike King. The Strike King with the purple on the back, with the white on the belly.
I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm not sponsored by them, but I've filmed many TV shows with Mr. Menendez. The Strike King jerkbait is probably the most underrated jerkbait out there on the market. It does not get a lot of love.
That one right there.
I'll swap you. Yes, that's their Pro Blue. Yep. And the color that I've always seen catch them doesn't have purple in it. It's that summer sexy shad. And it's kind of an oddball looking color, but man, they eat it. So I will give Strike King a nice shout out. Of course, my buddy Mike Russell, he'd be great to have on the show, by the way, because he is in charge of all the paint jobs for Strike King, and he has really elevated the new KVD Elite colors. Like, you see these things, if they weren't in the package and laying on my boat or your boat, you go, dang, who makes that? That paint job looks awesome. It is a Strike King paint job now. So.
And listen, I know you use like the 6th Sense stuff. I'm sponsored by Spro. Spro sponsors BTL. I'm not going to sit here and say that I only throw Spro. That'd be like saying you only throw one brand of plastic. Like, there's a different situations for different things. Do I honestly think there is a lot of times when the McStick in different versions is the best jerk bait that I can be throwing? 100%. I've got an entire box of them here. Yeah. Do I also think there's a time when the Rogue is the deal? Do I think there's a time when the Silent 6th Sense is the deal? Do I think there is a time when the Megabass 110+1 is the deal? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think as anglers, you've got to be versatile, and same deal. I talk about everything under the sun. I'll play with it. Mm-hmm. And so I respect a guy that's sponsored by whoever and want to come on the show or in their fishing.
I'm not saying they pay me millions of bucks or I'm in R&D or anything. I just use what McClellan tells me to use, and they run ads on the show. I mean, I know I'm not, my on the water performance isn't making McSticks fly off the shelf. Let's be honest here. But
yeah. I just because I got a boat, we're not going to see 25-pound sacks come from Baitman all the time. I can tell you that.
But dude, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got like 15 different hues of purple here. Look at that one. That is an old 78 SPDD original with a custom purple paint job on it.
Now we're talking. So,
like, that thing has seen some stuff.
It does look like it's got a few bite marks on it. Yeah, I think it's important as anglers to, even if you're sponsored by somebody, you've got to experiment with other people's stuff. And I don't mean that to let's go knock it off. I mean to really dial it in and know there's a time and a place for certain baits, certain designs. I mean, it is what it is. And I respect guys like yourself and others that have come out and say, hey, I may be sponsored by XYZ brand, but I was using OSP, or I used this or that because it had something the bass were looking for that I didn't have.
So this is the sneaky one that's, in my opinion, is kind of going right now, and that's that Duo.
Yeah. That looks really good. Yozuri makes a really good.
You got chaos going on at the Baitman house right now?
My kids just got back from Vacation Bible School.
Oh, nice. I used to do Vacation Bible School.
Dude, so I don't even ask them. They want to go, and I'm all for it.
I used to do I was in charge of like the game after I like graduated from Vacation Bible School. Yeah. But I was always a big fan of the Red Rover game.
Oh yeah.
And then
I wasn't very
like,
good because I'm small, so I would basically go under people's arms.
yeah, no, we ended up with like a couple broken arms one year, and then that was the last year that I was in charge of that, and that was my end of Vacation Bible School back in Decatur, Illinois. But yeah, those duos are nasty.
Yeah, they look good. I like their so they make a deep version that I've used in spring bait for me. Now I'm going to ask you this. So let's say we got these suspended jerk baits, whatever one you want to choose. You're set up forward facing sonar. You see these fish. How are you throwing to the fish? Are you just I want to hit it on the head? Are you trying to make a long cast behind them, or do you work your bait real fast till you get to where you see the fish and then just slowly move it? How's this go down for you?
All right, we're going to do this. All right, so this for forward facing sonar is key. That's the fish sticks.
What?
It's
Is this some Epic Eric stuff?
no, not sponsored, nothing. Like, I swear by this stuff, dude,
Okay.
on a jerk bait, especially when you're trying to draw fish and get them to bite. Like, look at that. It's like used. This is, it doesn't matter what it is. This is blueback herring. You can get it in shad, 4X, whatever. Every time before, if I'm throwing that jerk bait, I'm taking my mixed stick and I'm putting it on my hands and I am literally working it in like I don't know if you can hear this, but there's like
Little
grooves on some of the pattern. I love those grooved patterns. Like, dude, there's so many guys that are doing this. Like, I'm going to get calls afterwards about this, but I'm taking this and I'm literally working it into both sides of this bait. It's going to give it a different look. It's going to take a lot of the shine off of it, give it more of a matte finish, but it literally, this stuff will stay on. Like, I've had this stuff forever. It's a pain. Like, you have to put it in your armpit if you're fishing in the winter with it because it gets like rock hard. But like right now, like it's like, you know, the consistency of lip gloss. And I'm just like working that into either side of my jerk bait, like the night before the tournament, the day that I'm out there, and I'll just put it on like 2 or 3 times during the day. I'm a full on believer that like draws a lot more bites.
So is it like leaving like a scent trail, or is it showing up a little bit, make your bait show up a
No,
little bit
I
more?
think I think when they get up there, they just commit to it more.
All right.
I mean, dude, this is like a lot of crap. And that, like, you know, they get up to it. It's got that little bit of scent. You know, it's not oil based. You know, if you take it, you know, like oil based scents don't really translate that well, but it does disperse. It just like for fish that are nipping, that are thinking about committing, that are getting up behind it. I'm a big fan of that.
All right, I gotta look this up. This is on Tackle Warehouse.
Yeah, fish sticks. I've never used the what's the one that's like Vaseline that they sell for like $15 that half the guys swear by and half think it's voodoo?
Mega Strike?
No, it's in the clear one with the red.
Hey, okay,
label.
so is this fish sticks KVD lure enhancer? Is that what it is? Okay. Yeah, I see they got crawfish. I'm gonna put this link in the chat real quick.
So get the bigger one because the smaller one is the exact same size as chapstick. Like it is identical to chapstick. You will use it as chapstick if you don't get the bigger, bulkier one.
Sorry, I accidentally hit the play button in the background. All right, so I'll put that link in.
Bait fuel. That's it.
I have a really good. I don't know if you've seen some of my Instagram videos lately, but I have a really good one coming up for bait fuel.
Dude,
I'm not a bait fuel guy.
Record, like I'm not kidding. Off the record, like guys who have no reason to freaking lie. I've had some that go, it doesn't hurt. I've had other guys that are like, yeah, no, it's absolutely 100%. I don't fish without it.
Really?
Yeah. I swear to God, it's split 50-50. On like,
well, you can say that
level.
about a lot of scents too. Gambler Bang, man, I knew guys that they went through 4 or 5 cans of Gambler Bang a year. Like make 10 casts.
That's just for my own confidence. I just like that. I feel like that smell helps me fish better.
So let's be honest, confidence, whether it's a color, a scent, maybe even hooks. I know guys that they won't throw a bait without changing the stock hooks, and now stock hooks are really good.
Oh,
confidence.
Dude, that thing comes with Gamakatsus on it. Like, I don't change out the 6 cents ones that come on that Provoke.
No, dude. They
I just take it out of the pack and tie that sucker on.
Yeah, so I guess that's one of the reasons 6 cents got super popular years ago. Obviously, with Ben, they've really taken off. But from my retail days, guys are like, I'll buy this over XYZ brand because I don't have to change the hooks.
Yep.
And now they've went to BKK hooks, which I don't know if you've used BKK.
I have.
They make a really good hook, and they come out with that small flat side this year. The pressure, it's kind of like a Fritz side-ish deal. They put BKKs, and I haven't lost a fish on that sucker. I mean, they're sharp.
I mean, same thing. So, like, obviously, that's a game dayer, right?
Mm-hmm. So, what hooks did you put on that? Because those aren't mega bass hooks. Is that a Gamakatsu G Finesse?
Those are the G Finesse Aaron's hook in the mid grade and a number 4. Now, typically, this bait, the 110, comes with the number 6 out barb, and this is going to sink. What this does is it slows it down because of that. G Finesse is a little bit lighter hook. I would go to a number 4 because if you're gonna like weigh it on, let's just happen to say you have a scale that weighs in grams. If you're gonna weigh it on a scale like that, you're gonna find that the number 4 is the closest to the out barb that Mega Bass uses. But I'm not looking to suspend this bait. I'm looking to move this bait. But those hooks, man, they look at it wrong. They got it. They nip at it. They got it.
Do you ever put one of these on a jerk bait? Now this is for Topwater. I've got me some G Finesse feathered trebles. I know guys that they do the feathered treble on a jerk bait. You ever do that?
The only one, remember, you can probably find it out. And there was a Rapala jerk bait that came with a feathered treble on the back treble.
Yes, sure do.
And there was, when I first started fishing Grand, 05, 06, 07, dude, all the Grand dudes threw that freaking X-Wrap. All of them. Like, it was nuts with a feathered treble. And dude, this is an honest to God story. So when I first started fishing the Nation out there, it was 50-50. So you get the boat for 4 hours, your co gets the boat for 4 hours, right? And I think it was one of the first, I think I was even fishing out of that dude's boat, because for the first 2 years, I didn't even let him flip. I just said, I'll just go with you, even though I had my own boat and practiced out of it, because there wasn't co-anglers. And I drew a dude who, I was throwing a jerk bait down on the bottom end of the lake. It was a fall tournament, and caught a few, had a decent bag. And this dude was throwing that X-Wrap. And I swear to you, I watched a 6-something come out from a dock and literally eat the feathered treble 6 feet from the boat.
Ooh.
And it was wild. Like, the fish was eating the feather on the treble.
I think I was about 18 or 19. I fished a tournament with a guy, and it's just one of them deals like, hey, I'm fishing a tournament tomorrow. You ain't got a partner you want to fish with me. And it was a spring, Kentucky Lake. He said, I'm on some jerkbait fish. And he was throwing a pointer 78. And when he pulled it out, he had a little bitty feather treble. He's like, you like that? And I was like, I guess. And dude, every fish he caught was hooked on that back feather treble. And he was throwing that jerkbait on a real light rod, basically a spinning rod. So he would let them play, and eventually they'd turn and get hooked. But every fish he caught that day, when it was first coming out, it was that back hook. And so that's why I asked if you like that feather, because there's some guys.
So now I also have buddies who immediately, when they get a topwater, whether it's a popper or a walking bait, first thing they do is take the feather treble off, because they believe it creates drag, which reduces the sharpness of the bait's action. So unless it's a mayfly hatch on a popper, on a spook, on a vixen, on anything, 0 feathers, because they think that the crisp action without the feather treble that kind of makes it a little bit drag, which it would, because it's drag, reduces the amount of reaction bites that they get and dulls the sound of the bait.
Interesting. Like I'm a feather guy. I like to have them on, but I'm also not the guy that if I get, like 6 cents makes the catwalk, I throw that bait a lot. Now it's really good. And the Sammy, they didn't come with feathers on them.
No.
And I don't go out of my way, but I always keep some because I do feel like on a popper, I like that feather treble, especially around a mayfly hatch.
Yeah.
Or if you're getting a lot of schooling fish, because a lot of times these schooling fish, they're blowing up bait, and a lot of these bait fish fall and they're sitting on the surface, they're twitching and they're dead. And you may be working a bait and you can pause and that feather kind of pulses. But I got a jerk bait here I want to show you too, Matt, when you wrap up. It's a different
I was just going to say one more thing on the feather. The one thing that I do like it on, 6 cents makes that wake bait that's like kind of hunched over. It's got a big rounded bill on it.
The movement 80 weight.
Dude, I love putting a number 2 Gamakatsu feather treble on the back of that thing.
Really?
It's freaking cool. I was looking back. I don't have my wake bait box here, but I've caught a bunch of nice ones on that.
We got a buddy that absolutely smashes on that bait. I'll tell you when I throw it, we're getting way off. We're off rabbit holing right now.
That's fine.
This is the munch. So you like the 80X? So the munch is a smaller version of that bait. And that's just kind of a gizzard shad color.
Oh wow!
And so, obviously Mans isn't in business anymore. And that baby -1, holy smokes, is there falling for that bait. But there's not a lot of baits in that category that run less than 2 foot that you can run as a wake or a really, really ultra shallow crank. And anyway, all right. So I'm going to show you this bait.
Yep.
I haven't used it yet. I'm glad I got a boat because I want to try this. I bought this bait off TikTok. This is from.
I've never been on TikTok in my life.
I'd stay off. I don't really use it that much, but if you watch the wrong video, the algorithm grabs you. Your girlfriend's going to be like, "What are you doing, Matt? Come on." Like, Mom, I'm just watching this video. Or I tell Brittany, it just popped up on my feed. I don't know why. Now, if you start an OnlyFans page, by means, get all over TikTok. But I saw this, and this is the glitch from a company called 100 Swimbaits. And they have these on Tackle Warehouse, by the way. This was custom painted. Yes.
Dude, Epic Eric just had one on BTL today.
Oh, really? God, I watched half of that, and
he's given. It's in the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame giveaway. One of the packages. Show it to me. I've been intrigued by this thing since I saw it come out.
So this is the glitch, and basically the dude took a mold of a super fluke, casted a resin mold. All right, and you've got this screw tail in the back. So when I bought it, I was first thinking, "Dang, this is gonna be awesome for schoolers on Kentucky Lake. I'll keep it on the deck of my boat. I can throw this out there 5 times further than I throw a regular fluke. My hookup ratio is going to be awesome." So it's got the screw on the back. So I'm going to take. I don't even have a knife up here.
Yeah, no, we didn't even take it out of the pack, so I haven't. I've seen it, but I have no idea.
Try to rig this up here. So I've taken the back of a 6 cent flush. You can use any soft
full screen on you so I can see this.
Okay, all right. I'll figure out how to do this here.
Sorry, I mean do whatever you want. I went into BTL mode there. My bad.
No, it's all good. Here we go. I got to learn to do this on the fly.
There we go.
All right, so you got the screw on the back here. I'll link the Tackle Warehouse to this bait, where I bought them off TikTok. You cut off the back end, and I might have cut too short. We'll see in just a second. Fluke, flush. You just got to make sure that piece is solid. You're really going to have to screw the plastic because you don't want to spin the bait or you're going to get trebles in you. I'm going to line this guy up. Yeah, you might have to get a little bit smaller, but you see what I mean. That ain't perfect. Let's see. I'll trim her a little bit more here.
If you're a bait tinker, you got to get it perfect.
Dude, you never know that 6-pounder I've been hunting is going to go, you know what? That ain't real. That tail is just a little whack to me. I think a fluke might be a little bit better than the end of this flush because the fluke's a little bit fatter back there.
Or you could throw like the back of a missile. The spunk shad deal.
Yep. So there we go. Now I got it lined up just right.
Yeah, that looks
Probably
good.
probably dabby a little super glue on that.
Yep.
So what I would do if I'm a guy that's a soft jerkbait fisherman, if I'm the fluke master, great guy by the way, um, you rip a lot of flukes where the hook comes in and out. I would just when I got done, I would save my tails and I would place them on this. But anyway, I got to talking to Jason Sealock. We had a great article today, by the way, on Wired to Fish about bait cells and everything. And he was saying he's got some, and it's an awesome bait for suspended bass around brush piles. So you can weight this thing a little bit. You add you some suspend strips. You could wrap a little wire around the treble. But you had to be. I mean, these aren't really big, but you can add some suspend strips or some lead. Throw this thing over a brush pile and let it sink down. And you work it fast, kind of like a jerk bait, but it's got that soft tail to it. So that's a really cool bait. That's one I'm really interested in throwing and putting some work in. Maybe you guys can see it.
Yeah, I like that. It's a little purple on it too.
It got the purple. So he made a few. When I saw it on TikTok, I'm like, gosh dang, that looks freaking good. So I'm going to order. And so I ordered a chrome one and a bone one because you got to have chrome and bone. And it said one left, custom lavender shad. And I couldn't hit the checkout button fast enough.
Oh no.
But I don't think
those are must-haves, especially in today's world. So everyone knows about those suspend strips. I would venture to say 75% of your listeners have a pack of these that no longer stick, and they just have like the yellowish backing on them, and then they can't peel it off.
Yep.
That's why I keep them in the pack. But these are twice as effective as the circular ones.
Yes, I like the strips.
Yep, you can cut them in half. You can weight more of the bait. You can weight different portions of the bait. To me, it's way more effective than the circular one. So what I do with the circular one, if we're talking about how we fish them, I don't know if I have one in here yet. It might actually be in the boat right now. I know I've got them. I think it might be in my go-to box. So on the Rogue, I take the hooks off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to put a circular suspend dot, and I haven't seen anyone else do this. So I have no split rings. I have nothing on this bait. That's another badass purple color,
just
by
like
the way.
Gold with a purple on it.
That's purple and gold. I just happened to grab that one. I didn't show that. I shouldn't have shown that one. But all you have is the split ring or the eye right there.
Mm-hmm.
So then you take your circular suspend dot and you take an ice pick and you put a hole in the middle of the suspend dot directly in the middle. And
so
then you put it
over
the ring right there. So then it is actually dead centered. And that's the actual perfect part for that Rogue instead of to be like that. And Mike McClellan's big on the aggressive. So you don't want your bait like that when it's suspending. You don't want your bait like that. You actually want your bait like that when it's suspending. So then when you're pulling on it, you're actually hitting the bill. So you're getting more action and it's more realistic, especially if that. So right there on that Rogue, that's the money spot for us, the circle suspend dot.
Hey, check this out. Come here, Junior. Look at this guy. Look at this perm.
Holy cow.
Well,
is that Baitman Jr.?
It is Baitman Jr.
Dude, you're huge from the last time I saw you on the show.
Yeah.
Did you make the varsity football team yet? Yeah,
he's starting cornerback. He's like the next Jason Sehorn.
Good Lord.
About half the size.
Yeah, I like that. You got the mop going.
Yeah. All right, bud. You going to bed? No? Okay. He hadn't been on the stream in a long time. I don't think he cares.
No.
But,
yeah, that is the
I'd always heard that
start out with 4 quick fish and then you'll never catch your limit on the LSU color. Anyway, continue.
Oh. Dang. Especially if his name's Brian Kelly. I mean, great bait probably wouldn't work in a big tournament, but anyway. Yeah. I've always heard, you talk about McClellan saying that. Yep. Other really good jerkbait guys have said you want that nose pointed down.
Yep.
It's usually when a shad's dying, it's falling nose down.
You want it like that. just
All right.
like that.
What other suspending baits have we got in your bag of tricks? You showed me this hover rig deal.
Yeah,
And
so
that's gotten really popular, and it's something I've got to put work in with.
So what I'm trying to figure out right now, and there's a group of guys that have figured it out. So I've got like every single hover one ever made, is when you want to use this. I've always thought it was better like on a slack line, like a semi slack line or a slack line, to where you're letting the hover rig actually like create like the dying shad. But
Or is it
a
almost
lot
like
of guys are using it in
place?
place. Yeah, a lot of guys are using it in place of the minnow right now, and they're putting it on that. But
So
I'm gonna sneeze here.
Go ahead. The core tackle, and I didn't know this, I guess, till I saw it. Facebook ad, or actually, no, I was listening to BTL. Johnny Schultz and Matt Steffen, they're co-owners in that, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so this was all developed by Johnny and Matt, and the core tackle stuff. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch a lot of Johnny's stuff, and that's not because I didn't like him or anything. He's really in depth, and he opened my eyes up a lot when I was listening to that show. And I need to get him on here because I've got some bait questions and forward facing questions. I think.
Yeah, dude, he would be an awesome guest for Baitman show.
But he's really high on this hover rig with the core tackle. And what makes this a little bit better or more special than I just take a 90-degree mold worm hook and put a nail weight in the head.
I think it's the erratic fall of this. I think it's with the nose of the bait and how it's I think it's the same reason that a chicken rig, why I think a chicken rig is better than a Nico rig, because a chicken rig is always going to have a different fall because it's totally different. Like a Nico rig is always going to kind of fall the same exact pattern. You know what I mean? Because the weight's identical. And with a chicken rig, the plastic is going to move it. I think the plastic, this rig allows the plastic to move erratically or unpredictably at times. And I think that's why, like, I'll be honest, I have not unlocked the hover rig yet. I haven't unlocked it. I've got every single one. I have Matt Steffen on the show every time. Once again, also, I'm a Gamakatsu guy. I got an entire box, all Gamakatsu stuff. And what is that? Eagle Claw. Oh, barrel swivels in case I have to Carolina rig. I bought them at Walmart.
I mean, dude, I'm not going to hate on Eagle Claw, and I hate to tell him my fishing partner, Mr. Jeff Deepy, if he's watching this, which he probably is.
But I mean, like, all Gamakatsu. But
he is Eagle Claw, dude. Like, so this is how it works. We're fishing a tournament. He's a really good Carolina rig fisherman. He's the best crankbait fisherman I've ever been around, hands down. But he Carolina rigs a lot. And dude, he breaks off and he reaches down, says, "Give me some hooks." And I hand him my owner, and he's like, "No, just give me them Eagle Claws." I said, "What?" And he's up there catching 4 or 5 pound largemouth, rusty freaking Eagle Claws on Carolina rigs. I don't care what anyone says; these are the best. I'm like, all right. So I cannot hate on it.
Have you seen that yet?
Okay, so that's for wacky rigging, like, correct? You screw that in the center, or is that, or guys waiting their dice baits on that?
So that is, if you're looking at it linear, that is for wacky rigging a Cinco.
Okay.
If you're looking at it abstractly, you screw just about anything into that and then fish it suspended. So fluke, mag fluke, mag trick worm, guys are fishing that, what is that 6 cents thing that looks like a freaking shad that's flat that no one really actually knows how to rig?
This guy, the panorama?
Yes. Guys are screwing the panorama into this thing.
Interesting.
And putting it through schools of bait fish where the are below them and then suspending it. So all of a sudden this thing comes through with an open hook with that panorama on it, and it's the wounded shad that's coming out of the school.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like what you have to
I've
do
got a
is
bunch
think
of
of
these
this
things.
and think of what you would never put on this, and then go out to a swimming pool and put it on there and see what it does. So like I'll say it, screw it. A lot of guys are taking the Bass Tricks straight tail stuff and screwing it into this and fishing it suspended, like where you would normally fish a jerk bait
Interesting you
or
said
a
that,
minnow.
Matt, because I just happen to have these right here. This is the Bass Tricks Flash Tricks. Did we just give away some juice?
Yeah, we did.
By the way, the new owner of Bass Tricks is an amazing individual. Great dude. By the way.
Yeah, that's
he
some
knows
good
what I like. He sent me
right
some of
there.
these with some purple in the back. So they're taking that. What do you call that exactly? That's a core tackle.
I don't know.
Here, okay. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up on Warehouse real quick.
This is the wacky shot, the core tackle wacky shot. It's a 1/0 hook, 1/8 ounce 3-pack.
So they're just rigging that Flash Tricks in the middle with that thing.
It looks really dumb. I mean, it does.
Okay.
But so did here's my thing. So did a Ned rig. So did a Cinco. So does a jig head and a minnow. So does pretty much anything that has ever caught fish consistently.
Well, that makes sense though, because you put that in there, it would float this thing down.
So parallel. It kind of is like, and then when you pop it, so I've done this, and then when you pop it,
does it fall kind of like a Cinco, doing this kind of?
Yeah, it's more so like when you move it, the thing's like, I mean, it looks like it's like a dying minnow.
Interesting. Very. So I bought some core tackle stuff. I stopped at Harpeth River Outfitters on the way, and I bought some small ones because I wanted to hover rig these small Bass Tricks. This is the Sonar Tricks. Yep. He makes his own head for it too.
Yeah,
but I love a Bass Tricks, and I was thinking it internally putting it in those paddle tails.
So when this is how old school hover rig I am, even though I haven't exactly unlocked the key to it. So this bag right here was given me by Matt Steffen. This was like from one of the original runs of the hover rig, and it's when they only had 2 sizes. These are the only 2 sizes that they offered in it. And he's like, "Hey, dude, we got this thing. You got to give it a shot." So it's that one, and it's that one. That was it. So it's just like literally just he gave me a handful out of like a jar that he had when he stopped through.
Really? What do you think is making this hover deal so effective? Is it the ability to just put a bait where you drift it and suspend it right in front of a fish's face?
Yeah, it's the forward facing sonar thing. 100% in my opinion. It's being able to see how fish react to your bait presentation, and this does something that they like.
I guess it's just like
I'm not acting like I'm an expert at the hover rig, Baitman. Like I have not figured it out.
I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not. I mean, when you fished off the bank or in the back of someone's boat the last 10 years, and we talked about it before the stream. I spent 4 hours yesterday on my boat. That's the Ozark rig. Correct?
Yes. Have you seen that?
I saw, speaking of Johnny, saw a Facebook ad with the panorama using the Ozark rig. And when he's talking about the way it falls, I'm not going to lie, that pool footage looked really good.
Yeah. It's hard for me to get over how weird they look, though.
I know. It looks like someone ran electrical tape across the flipping hook.
Dude, you put a freaking 10-inch worm on that and cast it out, and it literally goes like horizontally as it falls. Like there's no way it doesn't just slay.
So when would you go from a hover rig to that Ozark rig? I feel like the Ozark rig is a little bit better of a weedless presentation.
So Stefan uses this wherever they flip.
Really?
Like anywhere you would flip, like around trees, around docks, lay downs, throw a big worm in a brush pile, throws the Ozark rig. Like it's weedless. It's the same thing, like the way that it, like that little head works.
Mm-hmm.
Like it, that's, I mean, anywhere you would throw, you know, just a standard Texas rig, not like punching and stuff, but I haven't thrown it yet. I've got 4 packs of them.
Interesting.
By the way, this is the best way to keep tackle, if you've ever wondered.
You get those at Walmart, just a little bitty.
No, I got those at Costco.
Oh, Costco. I forgot. Well, you know, here in Western Kentucky, I have to travel to Nashville to a Costco.
Take your bag, get your things at Costco that are meant for like sandwich meats, and then you can put each of your terminal tackle things. Like, I mean, I did this like 4 months ago. I mean, if anybody knows me, they're like, holy crap, how'd you keep that organized? It's because it's impossible to not organize it. And then, like I was showing you before, so like
I'm
these
never
are like
getting all this tackle in my boat because I'm going to be constantly trying to organize.
these are like all my Neds and stuff like that. But then what I do in each one is I keep them. So I'm all about like the rain, right? Like rain just destroys your crap.
Mm-hmm.
So I want as many layers. So I keep everything in the original pack. And then I put these things are like moisture wicking things. So then I put them in it. And then I put it in that case, which then locks it. And then I put it in this case, which is another one. And then I put it in my boat. So I'm like 5 layers deep. So there's no way I like open it up and I get all my Neds and my hover rigs and my dry. Like it's only one at a time.
Here's the Ozark rig question. Chaos Divers, good name from Facebook. He says, never heard of it. How much weight is that hook?
It was like,
obviously,
like,
I'm sure you
say like 3/8.
3/8.
Yeah, it's like a lot of weight.
Yeah, so
like if you want Ozark rig, I don't want to send people away from here. Like go watch Johnny and Matt Steffen stuff because they're like they know how it works. I don't.
I'm actually probably going to send myself away from it tonight at work when I'm on my 2-hour breaks. I'm not saying I'm going to be working hard except for my break, but I'll go watch that. So I'm sure that's just like any other weighted hook. It looks similar to like a like owner weighted hook, but there's no screw lock or anything. And then another question:
how the weight is positioned up and down the shank.
Tyler asked a good question here. So he hasn't used the hover rig, but he feels like it would tear the baits up having to pull it over that big shank. That was kind of my deal. Like, how am I getting this thing in here without just totally shredding my bait? Now, like a bass tricks, you can cut the back and insert it in through the back and pop the eye out. Like a hollow belly swim bait and those hover rig heads.
It doesn't rip up anything. You can put a hover rig in a flatworm without ripping it up.
Yeah, so I want to talk about, I've seen Justin Lucas, several guys putting that flatworm on a hover rig.
I've tried it. I haven't caught him on it. The only reason I've tried it is because I saw it on social media. So that's my extent of that. I just know you can do it because I did it and it didn't tear it up.
It's, as much as people have bashed the new technology and whatnot, one thing it has brought to light that I think is a positive is stuff like this. New techniques, new ideas.
There's so much. I'm spending more money on tackle than I ever have, Baitman. I'm not kidding. I'm like, I mean, I just geeked out because I got Horizon heads in the mail.
Okay, now I have to look this up. Dude, I work too much. I'm trying to figure out. I got on Tackle Warehouse last night, and I'm looking at new items, and I'm like, wow, I'm way behind. So I have to look up what Horizon head is now.
I'm curious. I want to see your genuine reaction when you see what a Horizon head is. All it is a
Gamakatsu.
Head. Yes, the LG with the tungsten weed guard on it.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that is the minnow shaking head of the rich and famous.
I mean, $6.49 a pack isn't like absolutely.
No, so that's been in Japan for a long time, and they just made it available in the United States.
So it's a different style hook on the back. I know it's a Gamakatsu. It's not a round bend. It's not an EWG. It's almost
It's a
Very.
LG, like a long gap or large gap or something. Nano coated.
Mm-hmm.
And that tungsten. I mean, dude, you have to dig it out of those fish.
Interesting. I guess I got to buy minnow baits.
But the key is the weight down the shaft of that thing.
So that allows that bait instead of fall.
No, it helps the bait roll while you're shaking it.
Helps it roll.
So like if you look at, I'd say probably the two most popular are the owner, when you're shaking it, are the owner range roller and that horizon head.
Have you seen a queen tackle head?
Yeah, that's more like with that weird 90-degree thing on it.
Yeah, it's actually, I would say 180 degrees because it's backwards, or 270 degrees.
MJ Swindle did come out with a pinging minnow head. That's quite the conundrum for him because he is not a fan of forward-facing sonar yet.
No,
he needs to sell that Buckeye head.
Well, maybe he just figured if I'm going to learn it, I'm going to use my own type of head.
But if you're going to use it, use the Buckeye head.
Yeah, Ryan, the Rolling Strolling minnow head from Queen Tackle. So obviously marketing, people put these YouTube shorts and Facebook shorts, but man, it looked good. That bait's just a flipping back and forth.
You remember the Ned head that was like that, right?
Yeah.
What was that? What brand was that? It was the Ned head that had the line tie that was the exact same as the Rollin' Strollin' jig head.
Picasso.
Was it?
It's like a Picasso rhino head or something like that.
Force the head to stand up like that. Remember?
Yeah.
It was goofy looking. It had like a 50% hookup ratio. I bought some. It was awful.
Yeah, I bought some of that. They actually had made a shaky head before that, and if you hooked one, it was stuck. But I missed a lot of fish. And that's not. I'm not saying Picasso bad products or nothing like that. It just didn't work for me. And you run, and that's one thing I want to stress. I see a lot of people, especially in YouTube comments, Facebook comments, they jump in and they bash a product or something because it didn't work for them. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it may not have worked for you. And there's
dude, I come on your show. I want to talk baits. I don't want to talk 3 different brands of baits.
Yeah. So that Rollin' Strolling, the way they were doing that, and what y'all are all talking about with this, the minnow strolling, the minnow heads, and they want them to roll. You know what bait rolls are really awesome and it's great for suspended bass is a 5-inch jerky J on a scrounger head. It's got that perfect roll, flash of the sides. Obviously, I've been in the boat with Jake Lawrence many times and got my butt kicked with that thing.
Dude, that dude is freaking good.
Best fisherman I know of right now, especially me. I'll put it this way. I know Jake well. I met him years ago through Ben Parker. And when Ben said, when Jake gets a chance, he'll be Angler of the Year on FLW Bass. He said he is best natural gifted fisherman I've seen. And Jake, as good as scoper as he is, you could take it away tomorrow, and I promise you he would do just as good because he's a really good crankbait shallow water fisherman.
It wasn't Picasso. I just sent you that one. It wasn't the rhino head, but it's just called the Picasso tungsten Ned head.
Yeah.
There's something with that hook though. I hated that keeper. I would literally be just dog cussing it with that, like, dude, like if you could come out with something that you could actually like rig straight on a Laztec every single time, you would freaking be sold out 100% of the time. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with that when I had those, because it's like that curled thing. Like, how tough is it to rig a Laztec on so much of this stuff?
That's the number one reason I don't use a lot of Laztec, because you got to get specialized hooks or.
Yeah, you try to rig it, and the thing looks like it just ate a 6-pack of its favorite color of crayon.
I always get a weird crimp in a worm, or even in rigging a swim bait. And I try. It may not freaking matter, but it matters to me.
Even when you're trying to pull like a jerk shad or something on like a straight jig head, and it like, yeah, that's the biggest. If there could just be like some way to just, if someone could figure out how to rig a Laztec straight on every different hook.
And it's a
Like some
confidence
sort of
thing.
guide or something?
So they made those hooks. They made the TRD crawls, and they made this special. It's almost very similar to Ozark rig. If I had my finesse box in here, I show they're little bitty like EWG with the weight on the shank, and
Yep.
you rig it by putting the hook in about 1/8 of an inch and then stretching. You can make those rig really good. But as far as like if I want to rig a shaky head, I don't use Z-Man. No offense to them. I know a lot of guys that love them. If I'm putting a shaky head on there, it's
What's
a
the
zoom.
6th Sense one with the ring on it? That's one of my favorite shaky head worms now. It's like completely ringed all the way around it.
Well,
I
interesting.
bought a pack at I was at Academy, and I bought a pack of those. I was a big fan of those things.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
The Boosa shaky one. I've got. If you could see what was beside me, you would shit. Actually, I might have one right here laying up on my desk. I got so much stuff, Matt. It's just.
I just looked it up. Yeah, that's the Boosa shaky worm.
Oh yeah, it's a really good one. Ah, yes. And guess what? We got some purple in this one. Blue Fleck Magic.
I know. Now we're down another wormhole, but yeah, I really like that.
Okay.
I really like that worm. I just bought it because I just needed a pack of bigger shaky head worms, and I was a fan of it.
Are you? All right. I don't really care that we're down a rabbit hole. This is Baitman Live. I just make the thumbnail and we talk about it for a few minutes and we go wherever. Are you a shaky head guy on a spinning rod or do you use it on a bait caster?
I used to be a shaky head guy on a spinning rod until I figured out that all you have to do is vary the leader length of your drop shot, and it's way more effective than a shaky head. And then the Ned rig is way more effective than a shaky head too. So my favorite shaky head is a 1/4 ounce football head with the Zoom mag trick worm in green pumpkin, chartreuse tip on the tail. Throw it on either 16 or 18 pound test on a 7.3 medium heavy and just give them the beans.
Give them the beans. Shout out, Andrew.
Dude, that is the deal. Like if I'm throwing a shaky head, it's on a bait caster now. It's 16 to 18 pound test. It's a little football head shaky head on it, and it's that Zoom 4.5 inch mag trick worm. Or the mag, you know what I'm talking about?
Finesse worm.
Mag finesse worm.
So my buddy, he calls that the deuce rig because he calls it the 4-inch turd. So we say he's going to drop the deuce on him.
Dude, is that not super effective? It's a killer.
Absolutely slays. You just described basically how he rigs it and everything. Absolutely slays. The only time in the spring he'll change to a 4-inch Yum Dinger, believe it or not.
Yeah. But you can flip it up around anything. You can cast it out. You can drag it. You can hop it. You can stroke it.
Mm-hmm. So I've always used a shaky head, whether it's 1/8 ounce or 3/4 ounce. I use it on a bait caster, 15 to 17 pound test line, sometimes 12. I fished a Everstart with a guy named Sam Newby. You remember Sam Newby?
Oh, hell yeah. Everyone knows who Sam Newby is.
Dude, so it's the second day. I drew Robbie Dodson the first day, if you remember Robbie Dodson.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Dodson. Ozark hammer.
Yep.
He had 16 pounds swimming a grub. Never seen it in my life, and he hammered them. I lost about a 5-pound smallmouth on a spinnerbait behind me. But anyway, so I drew Sam Newby, and here I am. He's just smoking the hell out of some cigarettes. And it's raining, cats and dogs. And he said, we're just going to make a small boat run. We're going to run up to Kentucky Dam Marine. I'm thinking, this is going to be good for me. I know where all the brush is. I don't really care where he's fishing. And I have a shaky head tied on, spinning rod. Only one I owned at the time, old Castaway. Bought it from Terry Bolton. And, dude, he catches 14 pounds in like 30 minutes. And he's throwing this shaky head on the bait caster. I hook up at least 5-6 times, get the fish to the boat, it jumps, hook falls out. He finally looks at me and said, listen here, kid, put that crappy spinning pole down, retie on a bait caster, and I promise you'll land fish. That dang sissy stick didn't have enough oomph for these fish. He said, we're not fishing Lake Lanier or anywhere you need that small line. So I got down the boat. He hands me a shaky head. Said, here, use this one. This is a Reaction Innovation screwed up jig head. And I'm like, all right. He said, whatever you got there, that cheap hand poured junk. That's what he said. Okay. So I rig up my trick worm. Bang, I catch 2 keepers like that. He had his limit. He's like, we're just fishing for you. But it was terrible. Ever since that day on, I always shake your head on a bait caster because I do feel like where I fish, they're not worried about line size too much. I'm fishing a shaky head as a power fishing technique.
Yeah.
Does that sound normal to you?
Yeah. No, 100%.
And chat, if anybody ever finds any Reaction Innovation screwed up jig head, Baitman has got some money for you because they had a really good hook in them. The screw would pop off a lot, but that hook, man, straight up get them.
So I see questions about it, so I wanted to make sure I had the names right. So there's 3 that I really like for that bigger plastic, right?
It's just a 1/4 ounce football jig head?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's 3. So the first one is that Gamakatsu. It's called a skip gap shaky head.
Yep.
You ever seen this one? That one's freaking really good for like bigger plastics. It's a ball head. The second is the Strike King. You can't go wrong with the Strike King. The only problem is the keeper on that Strike King is literally just like a painted hook or a painted point. And if you cast it too hard, it'll even come down. It's like an awful keeper on that, but really good.
I like the skip gap there in the chat.
Yep. And then the third one, and this one you have to take there's like 2 prongs on the wire that are like this, and you have to open them up. But it's called the here, I'll take a picture of it and I'll show you. I don't even know what it's called. Rojas showed me this, and I made fun of him for using it. I was like, this thing looks awful. And he like was totally sold on it, and the hookup ratio on this is amazing. You have any idea what that one's called?
Alien head. Spot sticker tackle makes
no. It's a Gamakatsu.
Right. I always call that an alien head.
So what happens when that fish hits? It rips the top of it out, but your hookup ratio on a bigger plastic is like 100% on that thing.
Yeah, spot sticker makes a creeper head. I think that is called an alien head. I don't know. Yeah, Gamakatsu stand-up alien heads. Knew it. I knew it.
That's what it is. I never doubt the Baitman.
Dude, I'm wrong all the time. But
so it's like a mix between the Buckeye, a round ball, and a football head. And it's the most unique keeper I've ever seen. You literally just stick your worm up into that keeper, but open up that metal a little bit more on it.
I'm gonna find this so I can link it in the chat, and I gotta go back and link some. You know what we need to do, Matt? We need to just have a show about terminal tackle. I don't know if I've ever done one since my retail days where I was just selling stuff. But man, we're down a wormhole right now. But I will say, I don't know if you run into this. We're talking about suspended baits and fish.
Now we're talking about shaky heads.
But man, I've caught a lot of bass in the old days of scan over them with down imaging and then fire out there. There's no telling how many bass I've caught on a shaky head because I use a lot weight. 1/4 ounce is about the heaviest I ever use. Unless I'm a lot of current and I'm fishing real deep. I catch a lot of those fish on the initial fall. If you throw it on their head, a lot of times that initial fall of that trick worm or mag trick, I love the mag trick, by the way, 8-inch, as it's falling.
You probably haven't seen what happens on scope much, have you?
No. Dude, so the first time I was ever with scope was with Ben Milliken at OH Ivy when we set the world on fire. I say we, but Ben, but I was with Ronnie Kelly, and he gave me a 5-minute tutorial. Here, throw a rig. This is what it looks like. There's a bass. Oh gosh, damn! Get the net, Baitman. I'm like, what the heck just happened? And that was about as much scope. And I fished a few terms to my fishing partner, but he uses it different. He doesn't like throw to them. He finds an area where they're at, and then he fishes how he wants, and he catches them. He's kind of like looking for brush, and then finds the fish in the brush, and then
that shaky head, like that light shaky head. So I did a show a couple years ago with Casey Ashley, and he was talking about why he only throws a 3/16 and how he keeps it basic and stuff. Like if you want a good shaky head show, that's an amazing shaky head show. But like if you watch them on scope, like 80% of the fish will come up to the bait. Like you think like you're casting it down and there's like a fish like here. Like if this is the fish and this is your bait, like I always thought it'd be like, oh, look at that. Boom, eats it. But like 80% of the time, the fish is down here. Here comes your bait, and the fish goes, oh, yeah, I want that. And it goes, boom, smokes it up here. That's why, in my opinion, a lighter shaky head is really good.
That actually explains why so many fish will bite that thing. You know, we're talking heyday Kentucky Lake. The right day, you put a cigarette on a wacky rig and you could catch one. But you get so many bites that thing falling out. And I always felt like that lighter weight, if there was a lot of current and you're dragging it and you pop it a little bit, it kind of flutter with the current. It was that heavy.
It's shocking how much they will move. Like if I'm casting it to a brush pile, it doesn't matter what it is. Like you want to talk about suspended baits, you talk about where I'm throwing it. I want to throw it as far away from the fish as I can to get them to react, because the further away you can get them to notice and move towards it, the higher percentage chance that that fish is going to bite. Because if you look at what it actually takes for a fish, they're not even logically thinking this, but like they're looking at caloric intake and energy versus reward, right? So if they're going to move 20 feet towards something, they're way more likely to eat it than if they're going to move 2 feet towards it, unless it's just a pure reaction bite out of surprise, right? Where they're like, boom, and you freaking get them. But if you can get a fish that's down here to notice something up here and go, huh? And decide to freaking take all that energy to go up here, there's two things that are going to happen. One, other fish are going to say, where's my buddy going? And then you're going to create competition. And two, he's going to be like, dude, I've already burned all these calories. I'm only up here to eat this thing. Whereas if it's right here, I've noticed, or you put it right on their head, you always have a tendency to spook them. Or if they don't want it, they're not going to eat it. So if you're putting it on them, I always put it on them like super erratically. But if I'm minnowing, jerk baiting, I want that thing as far away as I can and getting them to react.
It took us an hour and 40 minutes, but we finally got the answer to that question I asked way earlier. That's perfect. Perfect explanation. That's why I tell my kids, I didn't come all the way here just to do that. We're going to, by gosh, I done spent the gas. You'll find out one day.
Yep.
Dude, we have been on almost 2 hours, and I think we only talked about the thumbnail
I haven't
for 30
talked
minutes.
Baits. I've been talking freaking rules and live scope and pissed off anglers and happy anglers and organizations.
I don't know how you do it sometimes. I mean, I made videos and little quick clips, and we were originally going to talk, is there too much bass fishing media out there? And I don't want to call nobody out or nothing, but I do feel like it's good to just talk fishing and talk baits and techniques, whatever rabbit hole you get down to. James Gill, this is a great question, and this is one thing I'm interested in scope. He says, do they typically feed up? And I've always felt bass did feed up quite a bit, and then I'm thinking, well, then why would they bite a worm or a jig? Do they have to be sucked down to the bottom?
So on a suspending bait, and this is just my experience. Listen, I'm no Patrick Walters. You can look at my stats. I catch a lot of fish. I mean, I have coming off a top 10, but I'm not saying I'm like God's gift to freaking this stuff. But this is what I've witnessed. I've spent a lot of time.
No, I think that's the best part, Matt. I don't think having guys that are the best in the world always is relatable to people that are watching this stuff. If I'm throwing a suspending bait, I do not want that bait to go below the fish. I have a 0.01% chance of, once
a jerk bait goes below the fish. No, I'm not talking about a fish that's dancing. I'm talking about a fish that's sitting there moving slowly or something. Like you'll have fish that circle back and it's cool. You can watch them stalk the dang thing. The most aggressive bites are the ones that see it and they jet away. The first thing they do is they shoot away from it. And then they circle back and they come up to it and they freaking inhale it. But I do not want the bait on a suspended bait, on a jerk bait, on a minnow, on anything to go below the fish. If I'm moving it in a horizontal fashion. Now, if I'm doing a vertical deal, yeah, I want that fish to go and go down on it. Like if I'm pitching a drop shot straight to them or something like that. If I'm getting a reaction bite, I want them to porpoise down on it. Now, spotted bass are way more likely to change water columns and eat than largemouth are.
So I've been thinking about this for a while. Why hasn't the spinnerbait taken off on forward facing like a lot of other bait? Because you talk about the ultimate bait to control depth and speed that's got flash and all that. I know, man, I still throw a spinnerbait because I love it. But you don't see a lot of guys talking about throwing it on forward facing sonar. And you would think, man, this fish, they're suspended 6 foot down. Break out the half out spinnerbait, slow it right down through there. Because you know how successful the A-rig's been.
Jewel came out with that like spin scope.
Scope spin, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's because a lot of that it doesn't have to do with flash there. It's a feeding bite more than a reaction bite when you're talking about suspended scope fish. And I think the spinnerbait shines in what the hell is that? Boom. Does that make sense?
Yeah. They're feeding on bait.
Quick reaction deal. You're rolling it past a stump. A spinnerbait makes a fish have to make a decision. Am I going to eat it or am I not? And when you putting something in front of the fish's face on that suspended, like think about that, the jerkbait, the minnow, the hover rig, a Nico,
you're teasing them with dinner. You're putting it in front of their face.
So you're fishing for, you're getting them to actually eat it instead of react to it.
That makes sense. I just always thought, man, if a guy was,
but dude, I mean, I know there are guys who throw. So like, I'm sure, like 100%, because I look at what it does, like an ounce or an ounce and a half double willow leaf. Like they make some big spinner baits.
Oh yeah,
like creeping that over, like a do over a brush pile with a trailer on it would have to train wreck them. I'm sure there's guys that are train wrecking them in certain scenarios like that.
Maybe they are. They just aren't talking about it. I love that slow run of big spinner, but you talk about get the arm ripped out of you. No, when I was at Ivy with Captain Ron and Ben, one of Ronnie's things like, dude, I've been using this deal for a while. Do not get the A-rig below them. He said, if you get a fish on that thing, also do not slow down and try to let it fall back. He said, if anything, pop the reel a couple times.
Once you start going like this with your stuff, I don't care, even if the fish is going like this, you'll get a spotted bass to eat it every now and then. But once you get a largemouth that's like tracking it and you like stop it and let it fall so your bait doesn't come in, like you're done. I'm way better off, like, once I realize a fish isn't going to commit to it, to just like burn that thing in as fast as I humanly possibly can and hope that I'm still 40, 50 feet away from him and that he doesn't like follow it back to within 10 feet. Like I'd rather hit him from a totally different angle and keep him way out there.
Right. All right. I'm going to ask you about this. What about topwater on suspended fish?
Dude, I just freaking drilled him in Canada on that, and it was the most fun I've ever had in my life.
So I got a buddy that goes to Dell in the fall, and he catches these fish that are sitting in like 60, 70 foot. Catches them on top of the vixen.
Yeah, no, I was doing it from like 10 feet.
Mm.
He's getting them to come that far up.
Yeah, the trick is you got to find a bait ball that's sitting in like 10, 12 foot of water. You see, obviously you can find it with a scope, but you should really look for on side scan. You get off these deep points, flat areas. You'll see these bait balls. And hopefully, if he's watching, I'm sorry to give away your juice. But he did tell me he caught a ton of good ones, but they weren't a lot of overs. So noted. He'd scan, find these bait balls, and if they're maybe 10 foot, 15 foot below the surface, then you could see on forward facing the bass would be below him, and then he'd fire out a chrome vixen or whatever as far as he could and just start working it back. He said you could see on scope, you can see your bait up top, and you'll start seeing fish come out of the pack and come up there and get it. He said it was almost call your shot kind of deal, because if you found those bait balls, there wasn't no bass, just move on. But if you found a bait ball, whatever it is out there, thread fin or whatever, and you seen 7 or 8 bass there, he said you throw that topwater bait and they would just get silly.
That sounds fun. I was doing it in Canada at, I'd get off these rock points and you'd see them stacked up. There'd be a school of 8 to 10, and they would eat a minnow every cast. They'd eat a drop shot every cast. They'd eat a jerk bait every cast. But I had a vixen on, and like a couple hours into, I was throwing in the second version, so not new, not old.
Yeah,
I ended up freaking losing it to a damn pike. I was super pissed. But I didn't drop shot or minnow anything the whole rest of the trip because I got my scope set up to where I can see it at 110 feet out, and then I have the offset set to where I can actually watch it hit the surface. That way I can, meet whatever's down there.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that's one thing I noticed when I was out there messing around. I throw my bait out, I can't see it splash, so I got to adjust that offset.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the active target how that works, but on the scope you can actually do it so you can watch it hit. But anyway, you can watch the surface. You can watch the thing swim across the surface.
So I think that's freaking awesome, because I had a buddy last year had it, and I was throwing a buzz bait. You'd see that buzz bait on top. It's what will blow people's mind is the amount of fish that come up and investigate that never bite.
Yeah, and don't do anything. Yeah.
How many years have we been throwing a spook or a Sammy or buzz bait? Oh man, what's with these fish? How many are just coming up and looking at it?
A ton. That's why I'm not. My confidence in covering water with a topwater is minimal, because A, you don't know what you're casting at, and then B, what you're realizing is what you are casting at in certain situations, like 10% of those fish are committing. But in Canada, it was like 90%. So you would see them 70 feet off the point, you'd fire the spook out, and all 8 of them would just bum rush it. As soon as that thing landed, they all went, and they would just do. And my uncle was with me, 70 years old, and I'm like, watch.
Dude, that's amazing.
It's so much fun.
We definitely got down rabbit holes. I may even change the title of this YouTube video before it's over with. But dude, we've been almost 2 hours. I got to go to work in like 2. So
apparently I do like 2 to 5 hour BTLs now. I don't know how that ended up happening. It used to be an hour-long show, and now everything is 2
hours. I'm used to having Epic Eric on here, and we talk about, spinnerbaits for 4 hours, or balsa flat sides. We could go 8 hours on that. I know at one time I said I was going to do a 24-hour stream, and then I back out because I'm like, I don't know if I can really do it.
No, so like I've talked about that. I think I might recruit a lot of the guys who do shows. You would be in that for the St. Jude fundraiser that we do coming up at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But then I did a 5-hour show and was like, I would have no sponsors left after 24, because after 4 hours I was ready to say some stuff that shouldn't be out there.
Yeah, I hear that. I've been sitting on this stool, and it hurt. I'm going to have to recruit a sponsorship from one of those gaming chair companies or something. But
dude, this is a Costco chair, $100, phenomenal. Look, like I can sit back, boom, it stops, super comfortable. You got to get into Costco. Question.
This is one you said, when you say offset, is that the same as pointing the transducer up one click?
No, there's like a setting in your unit. So I'm hooked up with Scott Palmer from the Bass Tank, and we go out every like couple of months for a maintenance trip for my electronics, and we make sure that everything is lined up, and we make sure that the bottom stitching is put together, and we make sure that everything is dialed in on the units. And I literally like drive my boat up to Tulsa. He's got a Lake X there. We put it in. He's like, what are your, I mean, it's like, I'm not claiming that I know like, hey, settings. I say like, I'm having issues with this. And then he literally sits there and he's like, now cast. And I'm like, okay, that's better until it's exactly the way that I want it to look.
Yeah.
So there's something in there. It's like an offset on it that allows you to like, it like does something with the beam, but it's nothing about the click on it. It's not like how the transducer is pointing.
I wonder how much he knows about active target.
A lot.
I can say this, and I'm not dogging Lawrence or anything, but I can tell the difference between active target and live scope.
A lot of guys are choosing active target now too, because you can see more bottom fish. A lot of the fish that we're suspending are now sitting on the bottom, and the guys believe that the bottom definition on the AT2 is better than the LVS 34.
Well, I got AT1, and I'll be honest. Now, I knew where I'm fishing at and knew what I should be scoping. I could see the bottom pretty good. I actually think I got my settings dialed up pretty good for what I just want to see. I throw that glide bait. I want to see it splash because I can track my bait when I see that splash.
So
sometimes I would miss it.
That's key. So this question here, how important is 0 degree mounts? So the way I understand it, and I've asked a lot of questions about this and talked with Scott about it at the Bass Tank and done a lot of research on it, is the best way I could describe it is like the difference between like cavity back irons and blades. So like if you're dialed in, what you're looking at when you have, so the Garmin transducer mount, it's designed to be tweaked a little bit. That's why sometimes, like typically when you catch your fish, you've got glowing ball, glowing bait, boom. That means they're on the like same plane. But every once in a while, you'll have like glowing ball, fuzzy bait, and go past, and the fish will just be like, oh, hum, hum. Or you'll have glowing bait, fuzzy ball, even though it looks like it's on the same. So when that transducers are tweaked just enough, and that gives you an 8-degree wedge of sight. So that's intentional. So when you're scoping or using whatever you are, like it gives you enough to kind of figure out what's on. That's why like when you're micro adjusting, like if you have an Ultrex and you're like going just like 1 degree, boom, it pops. Now you're on the freaking 0 degree. But when you move it a couple degrees, you can still see it, but it's a little bit fuzzy. So what the 0 degree is it takes that torque out of it. So now instead of an 8-degree beam, you have like a 3 or a 4-degree beam. So when you get your bait and the fish and all that in the beam, you are dead nuts on. You're flushing a freaking 2-iron, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what it prevents you from doing is having the fish here and being able to see it and being off. So like if you're dead on, you're freaking dead on with it. So it's the difference between a cavity back and a blade.
That makes sense. I did play golf at one time. Dude, that was nuts. Maybe we just need to get Scott from the Bass Tank on here. I have no affiliation.
Yeah, he'd be a good one.
The electronics company. So, dude, we've been on almost 2 hours. We've gone down 7 rabbit holes, and dude, you've been killing it on BTL. I watch as much as I can. I watch a lot of replays. I get home from work in the morning at 7. I usually wind down for 3 hours. So usually by the time you go live, I'll watch for 30, 40 minutes and go take a nap.
I'm just saying, I hate to, but that offset is mainly to clear the trolling motor head.
I could see where MJ's coming from as well on that.
I don't know. I have mine mounted on my barrel, so I don't have it mounted on.
Oh, you got a scope stick or whatever they call it?
No, I have 2 deucers. I've got a 34 that's mounted on the shaft, and then a 34 that's mounted on the barrel. So I don't have to like worry about clearing the head.
I'm trying to be budget bass angler. I will be single transducer via the Bass Master rules and regulations for a while.
What's that?
I'm going to be a single forward facing transducer. I only got 2 graphs.
Oh yeah. I've got it for the next.
I'm under the
months.
55-inch rule.
I have that Bass Nation.
So, are you fishing the last open?
Nope.
Got you.
I get back from Japan on October 2nd.
What are you going to Japan for?
Sunline.
Oh, okay. Bring me plenty back.
Tell me what I need to bring back. I don't know what I need to bring back.
Bring baits that look like there's no way they'd catch fish, and bring them back here. Put them in your hand, and they'll sell like hotcakes. I mean, just look at the dice, man. Who would think a chunk of rubber with hair in it? You know who's got to be feeling bad over that deal? The Tight Lines UV guy that was making all these worms and crawls for years, and he was threading the hair through them, or the skirt material. And then here comes a Japanese guy that's got a square and doing the same thing and just crushing them.
Yeah. I was trying to show, I think I've got a picture here of like how my setup is, just to show. That's the way I understand it. There might be a better explanation of it, but it helps me when I understand it that way. I might not have explained. Did I explain that good? I might not have explained.
I think you explained it fine. I'm really excited about this, and not just because I got a boat. And yes, I've posted and I'm bragging about it because, dude, I worked my ass off.
Yeah.
But
dude, I know you've.
I'm interested though because
years.
Bass fishing has changed so much in a decade, and I'm wanting to learn more stuff because I feel if I can learn, I can bring it back to the viewer and educate somebody. And there's going to be some days I go out there and don't catch a jack. I just won't put that on the internet. And it's interesting, dude. And I think as anglers, we shouldn't stop evolving. Okay, I see what you're talking about. You got a leveling wedge on your trolling motor?
Do I have a what?
You got a leveling wedge on your trolling motor bracket?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay. I'll just send you a picture.
Oh, like that little foam thing that goes?
No, it's a machined like wedge, so your trolling motor's mounted level with the boat. Here's a good question.
To that?
Kip Stanley, when you gonna have Jake Lawrence on BTL, $300,000 and no love? He was on, I think.
No, I haven't had Jake Lawrence on. I had Alec Morrison.
Didn't you have him on though when y'all for just a little segment or something?
I don't know. I can find out if I did.
I could have swore you did because we were talking about it was all rookies.
Nope. We talked about Jake Lawrence when we were doing the top 10 scopers.
Yeah. We can do it if you get a hold of him. Hardest man in the world to get a hold of. I love Jake. I'll call him on like first day of September and November 25th. Hey man, what's going on? Just returning your phone call. Man, I've been busy. And I'm like, oh, it's all good, dude. But you ain't gonna keep him quiet if Jake gets to rambling about something. He's got good information.
I need to get him on.
Well, dude, I hate to tell you,
young guys right now too. Like, I mean, I'm trying to get like a mix between. So, like, here's the deal: if I have like a legend on, I get people that are like, "Who cares? They haven't been relevant for 5-10 years." If I get a young guy on, they're like, "Who cares? We've never heard of this guy. We want to hear from the legend." So I have to like try to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I run into the same thing. Like, I want to get unique guys that not everybody's running through the live stream car wash, but I also want to get guys that people want to pay attention to. And every now and then you get a guy like Cap and Ron that not knowing people who come out there and people are like, holy smokes, who's this dude? I love it. We want more of it. He'd be a great guy to have on here in BTO Guide Day, by the way. It's interesting, and I don't plan out a month long. I did reach out to Skeet Reese, interesting enough. I still had his cell phone number from years ago. I actually hauled Skeet. If you go look up the bass event on Kentucky Lake, I believe it was in 2005 maybe, where he finished second. His daughter was being born. This makes me feel really old.
Oh, wow.
2 months before that, I said, hey, man, I got a daughter that's going to be born that week. I don't expect to do real good in the tournament, so I'm going to fly out early out of Paducah and go to California. Can you haul my rig? I'll pay you $500-$600 to do it to Oneida. Sure, not a problem. And then he said, yeah, that tournament's 2 months after Kentucky Lake or whatnot, so just keep my rig. You can drive it around, whatever. I'm like, okay. And then Skeet ends up finishing second. To interview him on the water, he's crying, I'm missing my daughters could be born at any minute, all that. Skeet's a good freaking dude. That's what I come here to say. And he has always treated me awesome. I didn't wreck his rig. Got there in one piece. Still had all his baits and everything. And that's actually how I met John Murray. Just rolled right in there. And John's like, hey, I've got a bed for you over here, blah, blah, blah. And Skeet said you'd be here, but I'm trying to get Skeet on here. I just, I didn't realize he was fishing the MLF team deal, which has been amazing television, by the way.
Yeah, it's been good stuff. No, Skeet helped me out. So when I ran the Pure Fishing Pro team in whatever year that was, 13, 14, whatever. And when they went back in-house with that, I was working for freelancing for Blue Heron Communications. And he called me and he's like, that's gotta suck. And I was like, yeah, it's not good. He's like, how are you gonna replace that income? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm still doing the Jeffrey stuff. And he's like, that was pretty good gig though, wasn't it? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll help you bridge the gap. He goes, you send me some proposals. I need some videos done. He goes, and I'll shoot you some cash till you can make up for that. And I shot him some proposals and he ended up paying me like $15,000 a year for 2 years while I shot videos for him. He didn't have to do that. I'd stay with him. He'd drink wine. Dude, he would like go into a restaurant and I didn't think he knew anybody there. And he'd like have like a jersey or a reel or something. Like the manager would come out. He'd have his kid. Skeet like give the reel to the kid and manager would be like, yeah, see, Skeet, like, I mean, he did like a bunch of badass stuff that he never, ever asked for any, like, did not want people to know about it. Did not post about it. Did not say anything about it. Other anglers didn't know about it. But like, I mean, he was always good to me. I saw him do a bunch of badass stuff for fans and people at restaurants and people in service industry. And so, yeah, man, I got nothing but good to say about Skeet. I'm really happy to see him go into the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. I mean, I know he probably can be a grade A prick at times, but who can't?
Oh, yeah, I can be. Look,
I can.
Dude, I always felt like Skeet is just intense because he is very competitive.
Yep.
And he's competitive in the business world, too, so I got all the respect for him in the world. He's done so much for Lucky Crafts. He put Wright and McGill on the map, and now he's doing his new rod line, and I'm going to buy one or two. I just want to play with them. And but when I texted him, I was like, is this Skeet? And this is my real name, Kevin. And he said, Joe, I know who you are. I remember you. And I'm like, okay. And I asked him, he said, I could probably do it in October. And I said, I'm not going to bother you. I'll text you in October. Because I know he's a busy man. But, dude, he's one of those dudes that I think
you need to just do an old school Lucky Craft show with him.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I want to dive into it.
So. That's what you got to do. You do an old school Lucky Craft show with Ski. You say you break out the BDS 3s and the freaking old school, like all the OG stuff. Like just pile it on and let's freaking do it for 2 hours.
I just got a package with a few of those BDS 2s in there. But all right, we're gonna wrap it down, Matt. If you want to go anytime you're ready to go down some bait talk and rabbit holes, you get tired of talking fishermen fighting about sonars or rules and regulations.
We're
and
done
all this
talking
crazy
about that
stuff.
on PTO.
Yeah, you just you messaged me.
We still need to do a live show. My parents, literally, my dad. I've had this thing itching on my back, and I just realized I can reach it with this Rogue. Oh yeah, that's the ticket.
Smithwick back scratcher.
Yeah, right on the bill. Just went to Joanne's. Sent me a picture 2 days ago that they were at Joanne's. So
Yeah, if you don't know who we're talking about Joanne from Mike's Tackle World, just salt of the earth. And me and Matt had actually planned out a live stream this spring. I was going down there, and unfortunately, a big freaking snowstorm hit.
Yeah,
And
you gotta get back down there. Let me know next time you're there.
yeah, I've got to. So, all right, Matt, guys, thank you so much for joining in tonight. We're on 2 hours. Hope you learned something. If you didn't, that's okay too. If you're interested in any of those old school rogues, I hate to plug myself, but I have got several of them ready for sale over on my Whatnot channel. If you don't know what Whatnot is, that is a live auction app where you can buy baits from me, and we have fun with it. And there'll be a link in the description to that. But I have a lot of those rogues and all kinds of stuff. But Matt, thank you so much for coming on. You're fading out here.
Thank you, sir.
And guys, make sure you're subscribed to Bass Talk Live, the best live talk show for bass fishing on the web. My hat is off. And I'm going to kick Matt out, and I'm getting off here. I got to get ready for work. Thank you, guys. Thanks, buddy.
See ya.